Hi, my name is Ruggiero, Houston, and I'm here to tell you the story of Louis Anthony Chase. My story begins in the early 1970s when I was a little girl. I lived in a house in the borough of Phillipsburg on 6th Street. My father was remodeling the house at the time, and he was up in the rafters near the chimney. He found a box covered in soot and dirt. He brought the box down and looked inside of it. He saw that there were Civil War documents and old books and papers, and he knew the box held historical significance. So he kept the box and he stored it away. In the early 1990s, he gave the box to me, and I took the box because I love antiques, and I stored it away. A few years ago, I was putting away my Christmas decorations and I came across that soot-covered box. I decided to take a look into the box, and I was just fascinated with what I found. Inside that box, I found Christian magazines, Bibles, and papers from the Civil War era. But the one paper that really piqued my interest was the enlistment paper. There was an enlistment paper issued to Louis Anthony Chase, and it was dated 1864. And there were also plantation cards in this box for concerts on plantations. I had to research this. I had to find out how this box and these documents ended up in a house in Phillipsburg, and I needed to research the story to see what the background of this could be. So I started a personal journey, really. I went immediately on the internet and I started to try to research and find some information about this Louis Chase. And I did find some information on the internet. I then went to the Phillipsburg Historical Society, and I also spoke with some women from the Center County Historical Society. And what I found regarding Louis Anthony Chase was fascinating. Louis Chase was born in 1845 in Clear Springs, Maryland, Washington County. He was born on a plantation. He was born into slavery. His father was sold to another slave owner when Louis was a young boy, and he never saw his father again. His mother was left to raise Louis alone on the plantation. When the Civil War began, Louis left the plantation and he journeyed to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, where he enlisted in the 43rd Regiment of the U.S. Colored Troops. And through my research and some of the articles that I found on Louis, it was written that he fought valiantly for the Union troops until the end of the war. Louis mustered out at the end of the Civil War, and he went back to that plantation. And through the Emancipation Proclamation, his mother was free. So he went back, reunited with his mother, and he also married a slave, another slave that was on the plantation, a young girl by the name of Caroline Barnes. Together, the three of them left the plantation in Maryland, and they went to Mount Union, Pennsylvania. In Mount Union, Louis was employed by the local tannery. That was his trade on the plantation. That's what he knew. Through these years, Louis taught himself how to read and write, how to read music, and to play music. And in some of the articles that I've read about Louis, it was noted also that he had a melodic voice, and he was an excellent singer. From Mount Union, he spent a few years there. He then went to Johnstown, Pennsylvania. And from Johnstown, Pennsylvania, after being there a short time working in the tannery, he came to Phillipsburg, where he, his wife, mother, and young son settled. Through my research and the contacts I had at the Center County Historical Society, we feel that he came to Phillipsburg to start the Black denomination of the Methodist Church. When he got to Phillipsburg, He began working in the local tannery here in Phillipsburg in 1877. He also would give music lessons out of his home. And the local townspeople in Phillipsburg knew him as Professor Chase. That's what he was known as. In the year 1894, Lewis left his job at the tannery to begin a new career. He started working for a Christian book company, and he had a covered wagon that he would sell Christian books, Bibles, magazines, literature, hymn books from. Lewis would travel through Clearfield, Center, Cambria, Blair counties. He would go on basically a book tour. And there was great excitement when Lewis would come to town. The townspeople would invite him into their homes, where he would have concerts, he would sing hymns, play the piano, the organ, and he would worship the Lord. All the neighbors would be invited, and there would be a great worship time. And through his career of selling the Christian literature, Lewis became quite prosperous. He was able to buy his own land and home in Phillipsburg, and he was able to settle in our town of Phillipsburg and live out his dream. And I just think it's a great testimony to our small town that we welcomed this man in after the Civil War, and we wrapped our arms around him and we gave him the opportunity to live out his dream. In 1918, Lewis Chase's wife, Caroline, passed away, and it was written in her obituary that the town mourned with Professor Chase after she passed, that he was a respectable, high-esteemed member of the community. And I also did some research, and I found Lewis attended a reunion in the early 1900s in Phillipsburg. It was a reunion for the soldiers that fought in the Civil War. There was a picture taken at that reunion, and I was able to find Lewis in the picture, which was very heartwarming to be able to put a face with this beautiful person. In one of the articles I read, it said that Lewis was a man of small stature, but he had great presence. And when I found that picture, it was just very exciting for me. Lewis passed away January of 1929, and when he passed away, a beautiful obituary was written in the Phillipsburg Journal, as well as other publications in the other counties that he traveled to, selling his Christian literature. But the obituary in the Phillipsburg Journal really told his life story, and he was very good friends with the editor of the journal. And I'm going to read to you a little piece of what was written in the journal to explain the type of man that he was. It says that Mr. Chase was regarded as an upright, worthy man, one who would not knowingly do harm or wrong another person, one whose first thought had been to extend a helping hand. He had been honest and honorable, loyal and true. He was born into slavery. He served valiantly in the war that broke the chains that fettered his race, pushing onward and upward to a position of impeccable respectability in the community. This picturesque career of Lewis Anthony Chase is like a chapter from the pages of a biographical romance. I'm just so proud to be able to share this story of this wonderful man, and I'm also so proud of our community for welcoming him in and giving him the opportunity to live out his dreams. Thank you. We're here in the Phillipsburg Cemetery, and this is where Louis Anthony Chase is buried. It says on his stone that Company A, 43rd Regiment, born 1845 to 1929, and Louis is buried next to his mother and his wife.